Loch Ness is not the gentle tourist lake the postcards promise. It is a vast, cold, near-black gash of water in the Scottish Highlands, deeper than the North Sea, holding more fresh water than every lake in England and Wales combined. Its bottom has never been fully mapped, and for centuries, long before anyone photographed a long neck rising from its surface, the people who lived along its shore feared it, not because of the shy creature the world now calls Nessie, but because of something else, something that, according to their accounts, came out of that water and killed. Everyone knows there is a monster in Loch Ness. What almost no one knows is that the people who lived there believed in a second one, and that the second one was far worse. Nessie, in 90 years of sightings, has never harmed a single human being. She hides, she surfaces for a moment and vanishes. But the creature the Highlanders feared long before her was described as a predator, one that came close to shore, took people who ventured too near the water, and left almost nothing behind. They had a name for it. And here is the detail that should stop you cold. When modern science finally put that water to the test, in the most thorough study ever done on the loch, what it found did not kill the legend of the second monster. It gave it a body. This is the story of the creature Nessie was invented to make us forget, and the 2018 DNA results that quietly suggested it might be real. To understand why this second creature terrified people in a way Nessie never has, you have to understand what kind of belief it was. Nessie is a mystery. The other thing was a rule. Along the shores of Loch Ness and across the wider highlands, people passed down specific warnings, the way you teach a child not to touch fire. Do not go alone to the water's edge at dusk. Do not linger near the shallows when the water goes still and wrong. Something waits there, they said, and it is fast, and it is strong enough to pull a grown man under before he can cry out. These were not thrilling campfire tales. They were survival instructions, repeated by hard, practical people who lived by that water and who claimed to have lost family to it. And that raises the first uncomfortable question. Why would a community this grounded build such specific rules around a creature that did not exist? The loch itself gives that creature everywhere to hide. Its water is stained near black with peat washed down from the surrounding hills, so that visibility collapses to almost nothing just a few feet below the surface. You can float in bright sunlight and see less than the length of your own arm beneath you. Whatever lives in the deep of Loch Ness lives in permanent darkness. Remember that, because it is the reason a large animal could exist there for 1,000 years and surface only when it chose to. The loch does not reveal what it holds. It never has. For centuries, the accounts were easy to dismiss as folklore, a shape at the shoreline, a dark form that slid into the water when someone came too close, a drowning that the locals refused to call an accident. Wildlife authorities filed these where they file such things, alongside the ghost stories. But the descriptions had a consistency that is hard to wave away because they came from isolated communities across the highlands and the islands that never spoke to one another, and they kept describing the same animal. A long, dark, powerful body. A predator that lurked at the edge of the water and struck from it. Something that killed by dragging its prey under to drown. That is not a vague monster myth. That is a specific behavioral description, the exact hunting method of the largest freshwater ambush predators on Earth, repeated by witnesses who could not have copied it from each other. And that consistency is the first sign that the people of the loch were not imagining a spirit, they were describing an animal. For most of history, there was no way to test it. Then, in 1933, a new road was blasted along the northern shore of Loch Ness, clearing the tree line and opening a view of the water that had never existed before. That is the year the modern monster was born, the long neck, the humps, the creature the whole world would come to know. And the older, hungrier thing was quietly buried beneath her. The world got the gentle mystery and forgot the predator. But not every sighting that flooded in after 1933 described a shy, long-necked animal. Some described something that came close to shore, a dark shape at the water's edge that bolted into the loch the instant it was seen. Reports the investigators quietly set aside because they did not match the friendly monster everyone had already agreed to look for. And then, in 2018, science went into the water. A team of geneticists led by Professor Neil Gemmell did something no one had attempted before. They sampled the entire loch for environmental DNA, the genetic traces every living thing sheds into the water it passes through. The goal was to catalog everything alive in Loch Ness and in the process finally end the myth with hard data. The results made headlines around the world for what they ruled out. No reptile DNA, no plesiosaur. Nessie, the long-necked survivor from the age of dinosaurs, was not there. The myth, the papers announced, was dead. But look closer at what the study actually found, because the part that got lost in the celebration is the part that matters. The loch was full, overwhelmingly and astonishingly full of eel DNA. At every depth, in quantities among the highest the team had ever recorded anywhere. And when the scientists were asked directly whether there could be a genuinely enormous eel down there, something far larger than any eel is supposed to grow, they did not say no. They said they could not rule it out. Hold that word, EEL, because it drags this whole story out of folklore and into something much harder to dismiss. Consider what an eel actually is. A long, dark, muscular, serpentine body. A creature that can leave the water and cross wet ground for short distances, one of the very few large fish that can. An ambush predator that lives in cold, deep, black water and moves into the shallows to feed. Now go back to the description the Highlanders left behind. A long, dark shape, a thing that came onto the land near the water, a predator that lurked at the edge and pulled its prey under. Strip away the fear and the centuries and what those people were describing, a long, dark hunter moving between the deep water and the shore, dragging living things down, is not a magic creature at all. It matches an eel, just one far larger than science says an eel is allowed to be. And Loch Ness, by the genetic evidence, holds more eels than almost any water on Earth. Which brings the objection every reasonable person will raise, and it deserves an honest answer. If a monstrous eel lived in Loch Ness, where is the body? And the loch answers the way it answers everything, with its depth and its darkness. An eel that dies in 700 feet of black, cold, oxygen-poor water does not wash up on a beach. It sinks into a bottom no survey has ever fully mapped, and it stays there. As for how something so large could go unproven for so long, it lives in permanent darkness. It surfaces rarely, and in the one place we would expect to find proof, we instead found an ocean of its DNA and a scientist who would not call it impossible. The absence of a specimen in water this deep and this black is not proof of absence. In 1938, a fish declared extinct for 66 million years, the coelacanth, was hauled alive from deep water no one had thought to search. The lesson has never changed. The deepest water does not tell us everything it holds. So we are left with a loch the whole world has been watching for 90 years, waiting for the wrong monster. Everyone stares at the surface, hoping for a gentle neck to rise, while the creature the locals actually feared, the one that came to the shore, the one that killed, was never the shy animal on the postcards. The DNA did not find a plesiosaur. It found something arguably stranger, a lake teeming at every depth with long, dark, serpentine predators, and no upper limit anyone can prove on how large the oldest of them might have grown in 1,000 years of darkness. The people of Loch Ness were not warning their children about Nessie. They were warning them about something real, and it is still down there in the black water below the reach of every camera pointed at the wrong thing. If you have ever seen something in the water you could not explain, a shape too long, a movement too deliberate, a shadow at the shoreline that was there and then was gone, tell me where you were watching from in the comments, and subscribe.